So people start to do this is minor little shifts. The next thing you know, people like the way they're living. People like being healthy, but people also are addicted to being sick. But there is a shift in mentality that has to take place, and you have to prioritize health. Next thing you know, you're taking your supplements. You're drinking RO water, not out of plastic. Right? So then all of a sudden you find yourself doing these small little changes. We have a 90% cure rate for migraines here. That's huge. No medicine can say that. No drug can say that. I can stand on that, and I will. So I'm really excited about that. I'm talking about chest pain, actual, real anxiety. You're in the middle of it. You can barely breathe. Your heart's pounding. Your chest hurts. Anxiety. We're great with that. You don't have anxiety because you lack medication in your life. It's nervous system related. So we fix the structure. We fix the nervous system. They're selling us that there's a pill for every ill. No, you're wonderfully made. Your body can do everything. It can heal itself. Get your kids started on chiropractic. You can just adjust once a month. They'll be healthier, they'll be happier, and they'll lack some of those chronic diseases.
Welcome to the Superhuman Blueprint Podcast.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Superhuman Blueprint Podcast. I am your host, Drew Griesel from Primal Wellness Coaching. Hello, and happy whatever day it is to you. I am very excited to be revisiting with Dr. Brian Wikoff today. Dr. Brian is a doctor of chiropractic here locally in Orange County, California, where I presently reside. He is, in fact, my chiropractor, but he is amazing. I did a podcast with him actually in the early days of this podcast, so check that out. I will link to it in the show notes for this episode at the superhumanblueprintpodcast.com. Just scroll to the bottom. It'll be down there somewhere. Great episode. We talked a lot of interesting topics. There are many things that can be treated by chiropractic that I had no idea. I thought it was really just for if your joints or your bones or your connective tissue perhaps was out of sorts, then you go to a chiropractor and they push on you and they crack you and they pop you and they kind of get you put back together. But turns out chiropractic care treats all kinds of things. So last time we talked about some things like fertility, for example, and asthma. We got a lot more to talk about today. So I am very excited to get back on the show with Dr. Brian Wikoff. Dr. Brian, welcome back to the Superhuman Blueprint Podcast.
Hey, Drew, thanks for having me again. This is great.
And I just saw you yesterday, so this is a treat. I get to see you 2 days in a row.
That's right.
This time free of charge.
That was good seeing you yesterday. Adjustments are going well for you.
Yeah. I mean, you made my corrections and we're in maintenance mode and it's going well. I don't know if I've actually reported back to you on this, and I guess we'll do it here on the podcast, but a lot of the problems that I used to have, where when I would do some particularly heavy lifting, upper body stuff, and it would always kind of manifest as severe neck and upper back pain. I really don't have that problem anymore.
That's great, right? Through the thoracic spine, actually, we adjusted for your asthma and everything.
Yep. Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
It's good stuff. Yeah. So today, I mean, last time we talked about some really good stuff. Obviously, we talked about just kind of basic chiropractic offerings, but then we got into things like chiropractic treatment for fertility. We talked about the asthma. We talked about you're doing adjustments on like babies and newborns. So we covered a lot of stuff.
You would know that. You would know that part.
Adjust
your babies.
I know. That's right. My little one loves it. Every time we drive past your office, he points it out. Chiropractor.
That's good.
There it is.
Pop.
Yeah. Pop. Yep. But that kind of got me down the path, the rabbit hole of, well, so what all can you do with chiropractic? Because it's so much bigger than I originally was aware of. And, you kind of clued me in that there's more, right? And we've talked about a little bit of it, but there's a lot more, right? A lot of things.
So much more. It's exciting.
It is. It's amazing. And it's, a lot of things that I don't necessarily face in my life. So I would never think that I need to look into how to treat those things with something like chiropractic. Yeah. But now that I understand chiropractic does so much more, I kind of want to go down that rabbit hole of like, what are all the things that you can do, right? Yeah. I mean, obviously, injuries, sports injuries, things like that is kind of the obvious stuff. But
what's fun is you talking to me.
More.
It's fun because you've been in my practice. So you've seen the workings of the office. You've seen, a lot of people come in every day, about 100 plus a day, right? And so when people ask me about how I got started in chiropractic. It was through being an athlete. Wrestling in high school
Yep.
hurt my neck. I thought I was going to get into chiropractic to help wrestlers. I thought chiropractic helped wrestlers. And then I get into chiropractic and I wanted to be Olympic chiropractor. I was Olympic chiropractor. It was great. Velodrome. And then I learned that, wow, people are bringing their children in. They're asking me if I could adjust their kids. Don't really know how to do that yet because I'm a sports chiropractor. And so I went
Yep.
from a really narrow mindset to what you just said, which is boom, this thing is huge. This thing is huge.
Yeah.
So I started out this narrow thought, and then it just opened my mind up to everything. And so when you said it's big, it reminds me of the philosophy of chiropractic, which is we actually call it the bigness of the fellow within. So the
Okay.
innate intelligence within your body is huge. It drives. It's the living force. Matter of fact, our phone number is 541 life 541-5433. There's nothing
I
bigger
didn't
than
know
life.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
nothing bigger. And in the office, right? Back to life. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we have a philosophy and a theme about life in our practice. And the bigness of the fellow within speaks to the innate intelligence that you were made with. You know, you can call it the Holy
Okay.
Spirit, you can call it innate intelligence, you can call it nervous system, but we have to feed that nervous system, right? And we eat with more
Hmm.
than you are what you eat, but you don't just eat with your mouth, you also eat with your eyes and your ears. So you do have to guard that. So it's
Yeah.
huge. I mean, there's so much we can talk about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of what I want to help clue our listeners in on today is just, I kind of want to just cover the range of things that people wouldn't think of going to a chiropractor for, just so that they kind of know
Yeah.
that if they're experiencing, any of these various conditions, that, hey, you have another option, right? I just talked to your friend, Dr. Jack
Yeah.
Wolfson,
Yeah.
and he's a holistic cardiologist. So we kind of
Wow.
talked
Right.
about
Have you ever heard that
the
before? A
whole
holistic cardiologist.
never, and
Rare.
that was a fun conversation. I was telling him that's kind of my greatest privilege of being able to host this show, is just talking to people that are really enlightening me and our listeners as well, to this whole like world of options out there that we're not exposed to if we don't
And
go
can I say this
looking.
real quick too? Dr. Jack's a friend of mine, right? So I've taken him out sailing before, and the other night we talked about going out to dinner, and I think I mentioned this to you. And we talked about this really nice place, Corona del Mar, Five Crowns restaurant, super upscale. He's like, yeah, but is their meat grass fed? And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's like, well, you know how I roll, right? I'm not going unless. So I went from like, if some people look, well, that's really being picky. That's really being picky. No, it's having high standards. It's high
Yeah. There's
standards is what
definitely a
it is.
difference.
And you're not being
Yep.
picky. It's just having standards for yourself. And I think that,
Right.
he really told me nutritionally, I've known him for years, but he's really taught me like, hey, up my standards a little bit. That's been
Okay. Yeah.
helpful. So to
You,
think about it that
you
way,
got to have people like that.
you do. And you get one body, you
I,
get one
uh,
health, you get one life. All right. What are you going to do with it? You're going to treat it like a drive through, or you're going to
I,
have high standards.
right. I try to be that person in the lives of the folks within my circle.
Mhm.
However, I try not to be annoying about it, because it's very easy to be the
Mhm.
person that's correcting unhealthy habits, whether people are interested in being corrected or not. So I try to walk that
I think you
fine
just
line
speak for
between.
yourself, and that kind of motivates people, right? Like
Yeah.
I just went on a
Yeah.
run today. Just ran 5 miles, but I don't go around telling somebody else they should go do it. But I do it myself. So
Yeah.
just speak out loud. Just the way you live. I think the way we live lives out loud. It speaks for itself.
Yep. Yeah. And what's funny is a lot of the people that I'm around, they're doing their thing, and they're going, oh, I'm doing this. I know it's not Drew approved. So I know they're still listening to me. They're making their own
You're
decisions,
planting
but
seeds.
they're
You're
they're
planting
hearing what I'm
seeds. Yeah.
saying. Yep. But I was going to say, one of the interesting things about my conversation with Dr. Wolfson, and kind of what makes me think of this conversation today, is just kind of realizing that there are so many things you can do to treat conditions that people don't think of. So, today I want to talk about chiropractic for conditions where
Hmm.
people wouldn't necessarily think chiropractic. And when I was talking to Dr. Wolfson, it was like, okay, he's a cardiologist, but he's saying, go get sunshine,
Yeah.
hydrate,
Yeah.
get good sleep. I'm like, these are things that I tell people all the time, just for general wellness and energy and health and
And
immunity.
it's all right.
But you can tie it, and it's right, and you can tie it into now I'm learning from a subject matter expert. It can tie into very specific things like cardiovascular health, heart
Yeah.
health.
Which
Uh,
speaks to whole health.
so
Your heart health speaks to your whole health. And,
yeah,
people often, ask me about blood pressure. I think I wanted to mention that a little bit today, because
yep,
there is some confusing data out there about dementia. And so just let me show you the chiropractic part of that. And that is
Yeah.
we honor the innate intelligence of the nervous system. The nervous system's not wrong when it makes the brain the primary organ of the body. So people are like, well, yeah, that
Yep.
makes sense, right? Brain, primary organ of the body. Yeah, because it sends messages to the body and keeps it alive. So I get that. Well, okay, so if
Yep.
the innate intelligence of your body says the brain's a primary organ of the body, what's it willing to do? What's your body willing to do to get oxygenated blood to the brain? What's it willing to do? It's willing to do whatever it has
Mm.
to do. You're talking 140 over
Yep.
90. Hey, if that's what it has to do, 150 over whatever it
Yeah.
has to do, it's going to choose the brain
Right.
as a primary organ. So then we go to measure that blood pressure and we go, oh, the heart's wrong. I mean, the nervous system's telling the heart to push that hard because it unfortunately has to. So, but then we blame the heart on it. Oh, the numbers are wrong. No, the numbers are right for what it has to do. Look at the environment that it's in. And that's kind of
Mm.
like what
Yep.
Dr. Wilson's getting at. That's what I get at.
Yep. Yep.
So if you're looking at
Yep.
structure, my theme, structure equals function, right?
Yep.
Volkswagen's made the same thing a Ferrari is. It's just structured differently. Which one do you want to drive? And so the
Yeah.
heart's going to respond to its environment. Now with the thoracic adjustment, we can change it by 15 points because we do relax the muscles of the thoracic cavity. We do relax the muscles in the neck. And so what happens is the blood can actually push through easier. So the heart's like, oh, good, I don't have to work so hard right now. 15 points about. Now,
Yeah, and that's kind of a similar to how you described to me the asthma adjustments work as far as relaxing the nerves that are connected
yeah,
to
that's a
the lungs,
contraction, right? And
correct?
then the heart also contracts
Yeah.
different cardiac muscle versus this smooth muscle cell around the bronchial tubes. But my landing point on this is this: if we blame the heart and we don't honor the nervous system as being the intelligence in the body, and we say the heart is wrong, then we'll just be like, oh, just take what? Just take blood pressure medication. Well, what's
Yep.
prolonged blood pressure medication linked to? Dementia. And no one's talking about it. So Google it, read
Yeah.
it, do your research, go down the rabbit hole. Blood pressure medication is directly related to dementia. So why
Yep.
is that? Because the brain doesn't get the oxygenated blood it's supposed to. So those neurons will start to
Right.
die. Those neurons called your brain. So
Wow.
that's directly related.
Wow.
Something to think
That's
about with your
amazing.
parents, right? If anybody's got parents out there listening, or if you're yourself on blood
Yeah.
pressure medication, let's not punish the heart for what you've done to your body, because now it's in the environment where it has to work hard. Let's change the environment.
Oh, I know people in their 30s that are on blood pressure
Hmm.
medication. That's,
And
the
we have static
doctor
jobs.
sees that.
Look what our 9 to 5s look like right now, right?
Folks, I am very excited to announce that for the first time ever, my 10-week wellness transformation protocol is available to everyone. And I mean everyone because it is online and it is accessible to anyone with an internet connection and a device. This is what I have been running my in-person clients through for the past many years. And I have spent the last couple of years refining it and redeveloping it for a virtual use because I just don't have the time personally to get it out to as many people as I want to get it out to because I want to help everyone. So this is a wellness transformation program. Actually, it is called the Superhuman Blueprint. So this podcast was actually named after my program, the Superhuman Blueprint, which I have been running my in-person clients through for several years now. What this is a 10-week wellness transformation, and we are going to get you on the right track on things like your energy and your sleep and just how you feel. We will help you get your metabolism going properly, getting you in the direction of weight management and strength and longevity and building up your immune system. You're going to have better relationships. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel better. It's really quite amazing, folks. I can't properly express to you how much I have been motivated by what I've seen. And honestly, I kind of fell into this, right? People originally would come to me for fitness, right? Hey, I want to lose weight. I want to build muscle, whatever. So we'd get them working out. And I'm like, oh, they're not getting their best self. They're not getting their best results. What else can we do? Okay, let's get them properly hydrated. Cool. Most people live chronically dehydrated, so let's handle that. Okay, what else? Sleep. Sleep is really important. So what do we got to do to get them good sleep? Okay, well, that worked really well. What else can we do? Okay, let's integrate in movement throughout the day, not just this one workout every day. Cool. What else? And then we built in things like a cold and heat and light and all of these different things that when you add them all together, they have staggeringly profound results. And I'm talking people would come to me to lose a little bit of weight and they would, 12 weeks later, they're feeling incredible. and they are on this path of ongoing progress in their journey, right? And it's not just weight loss. Yes, that's a part of it, and great, awesome. You look better, but even more importantly, you feel better. So anyway, bottom line, this is finally available. I have been dragging my feet, chipping away at this. I've really wanted to make it perfect before I made it available to everyone. And you will never achieve perfection, but I've gotten it pretty darn close. So go check out the Superhuman Blueprint program at primalwellnesscoaching.com. So go to primalwellnesscoaching.com, check it out, Superhuman Blueprint. This is going to help you unleash, not just become, but unleash your best self. So get over there, primalwellnesscoaching.com. And because you are a podcast listener, I am going to give you a promo code. So go ahead and use code podcast. And that's going to give you 10% off the Superhuman Blueprint 10-week wellness transformation program. So go check it out. This is your chance to work with me without paying the much higher ticket fee that I would charge to work with you one-on-one. Although I do have that available as well. So that's there too. But go check out the Superhuman Blueprint 10-week wellness transformation at primalwellnesscoaching.com. All right, let's get back to my amazing chat with the wonderful Dr. Brian Wikoff. Right.
And so I get being unhealthy. I'm closing on Thursdays, because I'm out doing stuff. I'm out working out, right? I'm not doing my runs. I ran today. That's why I'm open. You have to make yourself a priority. If you want longevity, then this has to be a priority. The heart's going to choose today's environment, so it will work really hard. It'll give you a heart attack to get blood to the brain. And that's an unfortunate thing, but let's switch our mindset about that, because it's not the heart's problem. It's not the heart's fault. So we don't punish the heart.
Part of my biggest niche is busy professionals and busy parents. And part of that is because those demographics in particular have a really hard time prioritizing themselves and prioritizing their health. It's like, okay, my job is the most important thing, or my family is the most important thing. But the point that I kind of hammer into them is, if you don't take care of yourself, then how do you show up at 100% for those other things?
Yeah. Hey, I got corporate America over here in Irvine. We just did a health talk with a 300 people company. And what it basically told them is there a floor where you work? There is a floor where you work, right? So then drop down and give me 20 every hour. Let's do 5 body squats. 5 just body squats equal reverse an hour of sitting. Now, how's that possible? Well, circulation, heart movement, right? Because it's pumping harder, joint movement, back, spine, muscles. You just reverse an hour of sitting by doing 5 body squats. So we got them using this little thing called Stand Up. It's a little app on your phone, and it beeps. They get up, they do push-ups, they do 5 squats, they go back. Now that's prioritizing yourself. And the owner of the company asked me to come in and tell them how to do that. So this is an owner that cares about its people.
That's part of my protocol is we call it, exercise snacks, right? It's at every interval, whether it's an hour or a couple hours, you get up and you do something, whether it's some squats or you go for a walk or
doesn't take much.
Whatever.
Doesn't take much. It's a habit, it's a routine, it's an awareness. That's all it is.
Yep. But all right, we're talking about blood pressure. So do you find that people come to you for blood pressure, or is that more one of those things where you happen to observe that and you're like, hey, I can help with that?
Incidental finding, yeah. They don't necessarily come here for that, but a lot of people have mid-back pain, tight neck, tight shoulders. We do blood pressure on everybody. That's a health indicator, right? So we do blood pressure on everybody. And then we talk to them about the possibility of their blood pressure being because of their body. And then we take a post measurement 12 visits later, and we've actually beat the 15-point drop. But that's a lifestyle. Then we coach them on other things too. But we also tell them about the blood pressure medication being related to dementia and how you can shortcut your health. You can punish the heart for what it's doing, which is trying to survive. But this is not a good longevity model.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, Western medicine is not a longevity model.
It's a great crisis. It's great for crisis tool, right? I love emergency medicine. Friends that are emergency medical doctors, ERs all over the place. But I love but let's not pretend like it's healthcare. It's not healthcare. It's not even. And healthcare is not ER work, right? So that's okay. We let's stay in our lanes, but let's not pretend like medicine is healthy.
Right. What would you say? So for something like, let's just say outside of sports injury, obvious skeletal alignment issues, what would you say people come to you for the most? Where maybe it would generally be considered obscure, but these people happen to know that they can come to a chiropractor for it.
Stress.
What is it?
Stress.
Oh, stress. Stress,
People
really?
come in for
Okay.
stress. They go, I'm just stressed. I can't sleep, you know,
Huh.
and they're holding that
Okay.
tension and it's building in them like a volcano and
Yeah.
it's just going to erupt, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, there's certain intrinsic things in their life that we can't control here in the office, obviously. We can speak to them like
Mm-hmm.
people that care about them as we do. But we ultimately are responsible from really just erasing that stress out of their body. And whether they go back in
Yep.
that environment that's causing the stress or not, it's up to them. But then they come back and we
Right.
erase that stress. But
Right.
your body can handle some stress. But a lot of people like a dimmer switch, instead of like, being like a 2 to 4 on the dimmer switch, they're living at a 10. Now
Yeah.
that's a breaking point for people, right? So we got migraines, neck pain, headaches. They can't sleep at night. In regards to sleep, people are like, well, how's chiropractic help with sleep? This is a good one. Imagine if you're trying to sleep throughout the night and you're in your bed, you're just laying there and somebody comes over and goes, hey, 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 wake up. You would,
That's what my kids do.
right? Yeah. Welcome to being a parent. You would not sleep through the night. You would wake up intermittently. You
Right.
just wake up and you'd be like, what? And then you go back to sleep
Yep.
and then you wouldn't sleep through the night. That's what your body's doing to you. That's what the joints in your body are doing to you. So what happens is
Yeah.
when all this stuff around you is closed down, you've got your body and it's going to talk to you. I'm in pain. My knee hurts. My back hurts. My neck hurts. Don't sleep on the pillow like that. My blood pressure, my traps are like inflammation. So when people get adjusted, they go, oh my gosh, I just had the best night's sleep of my life. The number one thing we hear,
Yeah.
not my pain's gone, not I slept through the night. I feel awake
Yeah.
today. So it removes that troubling, hey, hey, get up. It removes that. And all of a sudden you can hit that REM. And REM's important.
Yeah. It's hugely important. And yeah, I feel like that resonates with me because a lot of people, they deal with chronic pain during the
Yeah.
day and they just kind of like move around the pain and accept it. But then when you're laying in bed and all you want to do is sleep and you can't sleep, that's when
Yeah.
it
When
just
you're
really
just when
wears
you're
you
just
down.
static like that, right? Because movement's part of the key of health.
Yep.
Moving is important. Eat well, move well, think well, right?
Yep.
So, but when you're laying at night, you're not moving. So all those misaligned joints, all those
Yep.
pinched nerves, all the inflammation, all the tight muscles, they're just going to talk to you and wake you up throughout the night. That's gotta be frustrating for people. So that's probably one of
Yeah.
the biggest things. If you ask like, what do people come in here for a lot? I'd say stress and
Yeah.
sleep.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting paid to say this, but one of the best things that I've done is just get on a practice of
Yeah.
regularly getting adjusted for maintenance. So every 2 to 3 weeks, I'm in your office getting adjusted. And before I started going to you, and I've been using chiropractic for years, and it's always been good. But I've usually used it as, okay, I'm feeling really bad.
Sure.
Let me go get a few adjustments. Once I feel good, I'm going to stop, and I'll go back when I feel bad again. And
Yeah.
and now I don't wait until I feel bad. I just keep getting adjusted, and I just keep feeling good.
Well, I mean, but look at you. You prioritize health. So the people
Right.
that do in our practice are like the once a monthers or twice a monthers. They're not waiting for the painful
Yep.
trigger anymore. They're ahead of it.
Yep.
And so those are people that are prioritize health. Other people that go, yeah, it backs out again, had a headache again, right? We get that too.
Yep.
But there
Yep.
is a shift in mentality that has to take place, and you have to prioritize health. Next thing you know, you're taking your supplements. You're drinking RO water, not out of plastic.
Yeah.
Right. So then all of a sudden you find yourself doing these small little changes. You're buying organic. You're starting to juice some things. It's like you're taking psyllium husk for your intestines. And so people start to
Yeah.
do this is minor little shifts. The next thing you know, people like the way they're living. People like
Yeah.
being healthy, but people
Yeah.
also are addicted to being sick. Like that's the way I am. That's the way our family is. That's how we are,
Yeah.
and that's,
Yep.
and that's a mentality also.
Yep. That's sad but true. So speaking of, so you mentioned like, things people are psyllium husk and all that for digestion. But so speaking of which,
Yeah.
digestive issues, I wanted to ask you,
Oh yeah.
can you help with the various types of GI issues that people have?
Yes, 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 very much so. Biggest one we deal with, if we're not going to talk about babies and colic, right, which also they have constipation, gastric reflux as well, is constipation in adults. And no
Okay.
adult wants to walk in here and go, yeah, I'm constipated. We adjust
Yeah.
me. They go, I have low back pain. And then
Okay.
we'll see on the X-ray that they've also got misalignments in the lumbar spine that are showing that they've got pressure on the L4 nerve, and then their colon's not contracting. The colon's just a muscular tube. So, I mean, if
Right.
you want to get that toothpaste out, you got to what? You got to squeeze the tube. So the
Yeah.
intestine's responsibility is to absorb, yes, but it's to move, to move everything through the intestines, but it has to have a
Right.
conical contraction. So like that, and it moves forward.
Yep.
So it's a muscular tube that contracts. All muscles are contracting because of the nervous system. So then we go,
Yep.
oh, now we're back to the nervous system again. Well, that's why chiropractic can play a role. So if you're
Yeah.
misaligned in the lumbar spine, you get back pain, you come in, we go, hey, look at that intestine. It's like 15 centimeters wide. Like, do you feel bloated? Yeah. And then people say, well, I go to the bathroom every day. I go, but it's not probably really good, is it? It's not voluminous, is it? True, and then we can
Yeah.
help them. But that's
Wow.
down to the lumbar spine.
Okay.
And and
Yeah. I
and for
bet. I
females, irregular menstrual periods, dysmenorrhea, infertility, and constipation, they actually go together. So it's the L3,
yeah.
L4 nerve.
Yeah. I recall when you were kind of telling me the infertility story last time we did this. One of the indicators was constipation.
It is, yeah. Low
Um,
back pain, constipation, maybe a pelvic tilt. And I know that you
yeah.
were just here yesterday, but we have another miracle story. After 9 years of being married, took 12 adjustments to
Okay.
be pregnant. I
Wow.
know. Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
It's a dream come true
I
for
love
her.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the husband cried more than
That's
she did.
stuff
They're
that.
so happy. But yeah, so it's just, the power that made the body heals the body, right? So we just got to turn the
Yeah.
power on. Can't have,
Yeah.
it's just pressure on the nerve. Where's that nerve going? We talked about asthma last time. It's gone to the bronchial tube. Smooth muscles will constrict. It's going to decrease the diameter of the bronchial tube. You can take a puff and you can kill the muscles with medication, but then they're going to go back to
Yep.
their neurological being. So then this is a vicious cycle, and getting fixed is
Yep.
not. Fixed is fixed.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I was going to ask you about menstrual cramps and PMS as well.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
sounds like it's all related.
Yeah, specifically lumbar spine. Yeah, pelvic tilt.
Yeah.
1 in 5
That's,
people have a short leg, so that's 20% of the population. Then you throw in
yeah.
misalignments and scoliosis, non-pelvic related scoliosis. That's a big part of society. So a lot of people are suffering that don't have to.
Yeah. Speaking of which, you told me yesterday you corrected what, a 17-degree
Yeah,
scoliosis?
17 degree. I have it. You want to see it?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see it. For those of you not on video, on audio only, come check out the video when you can, because we got the X-ray in the background here.
Yeah. So here's the X-ray before and after. So, 17 degrees. I mean, that's not big for us. We do everything up to 850 degrees. But what was exciting was this was done in 24 visits on an adult. So
Okay.
what we have here is 17-degree lumbar spine curvature, and we got over here
Uh
a
huh.
0 degree after 24 visits
That's
only. Um,
wild.
you can
Zero
actually
degrees.
see it. Look at this. Look at the tilt at L5 and the severe
Yeah.
tilt at T12. So right, left, 17 convexity, and 24 visits, which
Yeah.
surprised me. Now, why 24, not 36? That's normally protocol. This person's moving to Idaho,
Yep.
getting out of California because they're smart. And oh, did
Okay.
I say that? Sorry. And so what we do is we did 24 adjustments on the lumbar spine. We did scoliosis traction post adjustment, and that's it. Now, what does he have to do to maintain that? It only has to go somewhere once a month to get adjusted. So that's
Okay.
that's really cool. That's
Yeah.
that's huge. That's life changing.
And you said that was only a 7 millimeter difference in the leg length.
This one
Is that
here
what you
had
said?
no lift involved. This one was no lift involved.
Oh,
The
no
last one we
lift.
talked about was
No
seven
lift.
millimeters. This one's no lift,
Okay.
no pelvic, no leg length short.
Oh, okay.
Some people have one
Got
short
it.
leg. I got two short legs. They're both short.
Uh-huh.
So that's pretty cool. Ta-da.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
love it.
That's amazing.
I know.
Part of why I love going into your office is because you get to tell me about your success stories, some of which are pretty outlandish.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with all the babies coming in.
Yeah. Um, all right. And then generally speaking, so I'm gonna go kind of general here, just immunity. Like you're one of these guys that's like, hey, if you don't feel good, come in. Not,
Mhm.
hey, if you don't feel good, stay away and come back when you feel better. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're feverish, you're coughing, you got a runny nose, you feel like garbage, come on in.
Yeah. So can we reference going back real quick to pandemic, COVID, right? A lot of
Yep.
doctors' offices were closing. A lot of doctors were seeing people over the phone because
Yep.
chiropractics, it's hands-on. It's talking to me. A lot of chiropractors closed. Some of my friends closed. And,
Yeah.
but we're not going to do that, right? We're not going to close. Doctors are supposed to treat people. And so that's why during COVID, we had a line out the door going to that in the middle of the courtyard there when people were standing. And we've always loved people. We always love taking care of people. But if we want people to get well, we do have to adjust them for the benefit of the nervous
Hmm.
system. And so,
Yeah.
we're not a big vaccine, we're not up for the vaccine. We never thought the vaccine helped anybody. Matter of fact, I beat Hoag
Yep.
Hospital on keeping a nurse's job. So little chiropractor in Santa Ana beat Hoag Hospital. Can you believe that? Called him
Yeah.
out on medical
Yeah.
malpractice. Lady kept her job. That's huge. Because we,
Wow. No
because we what?
kidding.
Because we spoke the truth. That's all we did. We
Yeah.
speak the truth, right? But we put some light
Yep.
on it. That's all we did.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see people in place and in person all the time, anytime. And yeah, you see people in here with fevers. We have a clean room, and we're going to adjust you when you're sick. Yes, so that you get better
Yeah.
faster, because we know that the body heals itself. Medicine doesn't heal you.
And so how does that work? Like how does someone go from, laying on your table to having like a improved immunity or improved immune system?
That's I love that question. It speaks back to like the starting of chiropractic, because even in the early 1900s and 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, everybody's like, why did the chiropractic patients seem to not get sick? Why did chiropractic kids not get sick? And so
Hmm.
finally, a study was done in 1979 on chiropractic, and it was not a how do you feel study. You feel better after getting adjusted. It was a blood drawn study that proved
Okay.
that patients who were adjusted versus non-adjusted patients, you have a 200% increase in health in your immune system. 200%. So this is why the kids that come in
Wow.
here go to the little schools and have all their little runny nose friends around them, and they don't get sick. And if they
Yeah.
do, it's like overnight, quick. And so
Right.
it's a huge immune response through the nervous system. We just have to free the nervous system up by not having misalignments in the spine.
That's all it is, huh?
So,
You're just making sure things are in the right place so the nerves can do what they're supposed to do.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just do a good specific adjustment, and it's almost automatic for the body to regenerate itself. Right, that body's made to heal itself. They're wonderfully made.
Yeah. So I know there's kind of like standard adjustments and then there's very like specific adjustments. Like sometimes you kind of like we go through some of the same general motions every time, just
Hmm.
for maintenance. But then there's a lot of times where you're kind of running your thumbs down my spine. You're checking, my legs, where my feet are, my
Yeah,
hips, and then you're doing very specific things as well. I mean, I guess that's all just part of the training. But like
it
when
is. So we
you're
just
just running your thumb down my spine, you're like, oh yeah, this and this is going on, and you're probably feeling this.
because
And
your
oh, you
emotion,
got
because
something
your
going on
dynamic,
here.
yeah, because your dynamic movements, you have felt different on different days. But then
Yeah.
I have your baseline, right? So even before I had digital X-rays, computers, and I have computers in every wall. Wherever room you go into, your X-rays in that
Mm-hmm.
room, right? So I always open up your
Yep.
file, and there's your film for me. I like adjusting from worst case scenario, so I use your first X-ray.
Yep.
But even before that, we used to write on a card the person's listing, left pelvic tilt,
Okay.
right L5. So it's always been very crucial and important to be a good chiropractor to do a good adjustment. And so how do you do it?
Yep.
What's a good adjustment? Well, putting the bone back in a corrected place from a misalignment to a
Yeah.
corrected position. And so that's what we do here. But I do a full spine system. So we do full spine adjustments, and we like level legs, level pelvis, straight spine, curves from the side, right? Neck curve, lumbar curve.
Mm-hmm.
That's the model that we use.
Yeah. Well, it's
It works.
yeah, it's still pretty astounding to me
It,
that
it's, it works amazing.
that yeah, it does. And that's why we have a chiropractic family that I come from here, because we subscribe to the fact that it works.
Yeah. Been in practice since 94. Never saw less than 300, 250 patients a week since 1994. I'm now 58 years old. We're 30
Jeez.
years into practice, and you saw the practice yesterday. Even my pastors here are getting adjusted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's great. Super fun.
I've you know I try to get people to do things that are good for them all the time, right? I've got my own wellness program. I have a hell of a time getting people to actually just do my program, even if I offer it for free. You know, I the one success that I would say I have, and this is specific to your office, is I've gotten quite a few people in the door to Back to Life Chiropractic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
My in-laws have been there, right? My sister was in there. My cousin goes in there, and so it's just like
And here's what I would like to
it's one of
do
those things where
too.
people get it.
I would like to motivate people, and chiropractic is a great place to start. Because if people are like, well, I would work out if I just felt like I could. If I would work out if I
Yeah.
felt better. I would work out if I didn't have any pain. So it's a great place to start. But if they can make that switch from passive healthcare, me doing something to them,
Hmm.
to active healthcare,
Yep.
them doing something, that's the next shift. And you're
Yep.
that next, you're like year three, bro. You're like people picking up speed, they go to you, but there's just still some people are just starting. So start here, but then move to
Yep.
that next active phase of life. Eat well, move well, think well, right? So those
Right.
are all important things.
Yep. All right. I'm gonna throw out some kind of common chronic conditions that people experience, and I'm just curious, like,
Yeah.
what would you do with this person,
Oh, I liked it. This is fun.
if anything? So let's just go diabetes.
Okay.
Someone comes in, they got some, maybe not close to life threatening, but diabetes that's really impacting their life.
Sure. So if we're talking type 1 diabetes, you got to have a good a doctor that's helping you with it, knowing your insulin levels and taking their shots and monitoring your glucose, right? There's no one in
Yep.
chiropractic world that's going to be like, hey, I can fix your type 1 diabetes. Never been done, never been proven, not
Okay.
true. Let's go to type 2
Yep.
diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, in
Yep.
room 2, you'll see I have a paleo poster on the wall. I highly believe in paleo lifestyle and Mediterranean eating. So if you can stop
Okay.
taxing your pancreas, if you can stop asking it to work so hard, it won't get tired and go to sleep on you. So you got to stop taxing the pancreas by what goes in here.
Okay.
So I promote a Mediterranean and a paleo lifestyle of eating
Okay. And then just
movement.
kind of any
Now that you got a
yeah,
lot of
okay. I was
gas
gonna
in the
say, what
tank,
about yeah.
now that you put a lot of gas in the tank, now you got to start burning that off. So we got to get you
Yep.
moving. How do you get them moving? Well, we got to get them feeling good first. Got to get rid of that sciatica, that neck
Right.
pain, back pain. Got to get their posture working. Got to get those knees fixed. How many
Yep.
knees I adjust here every day? Now they're like, okay, hey, I had a girl the other day. Ran a marathon pregnant. Before she knew she was pregnant. She used to not be able to run 5 miles because of her right knee pain because she had a pelvic tilt on the
Yeah.
right side. So we just reverse engineer all that. And then the guy that you
Yeah.
thought would walk again or run again is out there losing weight walking because he learned about type 2 diabetes because he learned about what's going on with the pasta and all the glucose and everything he's taken in. And he learned that, hey, my body
Yeah.
can move and I can move. And as he starts to do it, he gets encouraged. Hey, it feels good to feel good.
Yeah. I love those stories. I come across them on occasion. Sometimes I get to have my own influence over them as well, but
Yeah,
they always they give me hope. They give me hope for
it,
people.
it does. That's what gets me out of bed every day, coming in here. And I love people. So
Yeah. Um all right. Let's talk something like someone comes in and they're I'm sure they're not coming to you for this, but they come in and they've got like cancer. So
uh
they've got some kind of cancer. Maybe they're undergoing like your standard cancer treatment, like a radiation or chemotherapy or
yeah.
something. Like how are you helping them along in that journey?
Yes. A lot of times, and it'll happen this year. I'm the first one to tell people they have cancer. So we find
Oh, no
metastasized
kidding.
cancer. Yeah, we find it on the X-ray all the time, and it's one of the reasons I
You can
take.
see that on an X-ray.
Yeah, yeah. When
Okay.
it's metastasized, it's osteomyelitic. So I'll be the first one to tell people this year a couple times, and that's always a hard conversation to have. And so,
Yeah.
we always point them in the right place and make sure they're getting other doctors and other help professionals helping them based on what it is.
Yep. Yep.
But we got to go back to that immune system, right? So chiropractic, how's a chiropractor going to support you during cancer? Through your improving your 200% immune system. Let's make sure you got all 200%. So when you're fighting something like that, you want all 250%, right? This isn't about
Yep.
going to work and doing a good job and not having a mistake. This is fighting for your life. So yeah, we
Yep.
keep them adjusted.
Okay. Yep. And do you recommend like so sometimes people are doing like a chemotherapy or something, and so they kind of in this like cycle of feeling like garbage.
Yeah.
Like do you try to align their treatment with that, or is it just kind of like
We're making sure
this
that
is
we're
the
making sure
schedule
they're getting
or
adjusted at least once a week when we're doing that
okay,
under
got
care
it.
under care for cancer. We're adjusting them once a week,
Yeah.
helping them maintain any type of nutrition that they can maintain, and helping them coordinate, care with their doctor and see if they have any questions for us that we can help them with. But we got to maximize
Okay.
nutrition, we got to maximize uptake of vitamins, and we have to maximize their treatment here. So about once a week.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Got it. What about just sort of we'll just say chronic conditions of aging. So people, as they age, they
Yeah,
all kinds of things, right? I mean, there's muscular and skeletal degeneration and osteoporosis and arthritis and all of these things that
yeah.
just we've accepted as a normal part of aging. But do they have to be, and what can we do?
Yeah, it's going to be chronic in healthcare. It's going to be chronic because a lot of people don't wake up until they get to that place. And so those things are going to
Yeah.
continue to happen. You saw that in room one, we have what we call a high-low table. You'll see a lot of walkers and a lot of wheelchairs, and you've even seen paralyzed people in here getting adjusted. So that high-low table is to help people be able to lay down, and the table goes down for them and comes up for them. The worst,
Hmm.
probably some of the worst cases we see are something called supranuclear palsy, and that's a brain disorder where usually it's similar to Alzheimer's. Not a lot of coming back from that. But if we're getting into
Okay.
early dementia, boy, we step in aggressively. We're really coaching them
No
on,
kidding.
yeah, we're really coaching them. We've reversed, Parkinson's here before too. So a lot of times it's going to come down to
Wow.
B12, B complex. If they're an older man over 60, which typically they are, males over 60, they have bad absorption. So then we're going to go out, get them some injections of B12 and B complex. And then you can actually see the shaking hands disappear. You can see them smile, make
Huh.
eye contact for the first time. We got a guy named Steve who's on a walker, who's not on a walker anymore. So it's great to see that we step in early enough. And if not, then we can help with some quality of life, for
Right.
whatever years remain.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that is like there's the different phases, right? There's the you get in there early and so then you're kind of on the border of just helping them with what they're experiencing, but then it becomes preventative for what they're not yet experiences, but certainly
Yeah.
will if they continue on that path. And then there's the folks that it's kind of too late to reverse it, but you can at least maybe keep things
A lot of
in
comfort
place
at the
and
end.
not getting worse.
Yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of comfort at the end. And
Yeah.
actually some energy too. Good to see them
Yeah.
kind of come back a little bit and smile and be happy again.
Yeah, yeah. So you've mentioned a few things about nutrition, getting vitamins. Do you have like partners that you work with
I
to
just
get
send
folks what they
people to
need?
reputable places. I don't want to sell anything here. It wouldn't seem like a sincere
Yeah,
recommendation if I did that. Um,
sure.
I think you need to be complex and talk to Mary at the front desk. I don't feel like that's
Yeah.
integrous for me. But I
Okay.
take a men's multi, I take a B complex, I take a liver cleanse. Those are the things I recommend for certain people. And so
Yep.
I think a lot of the Mother's Market, Whole Foods, Sprouts, so, just don't go to, you know, um, gas station for your vitamins, right? Go spend some money. It costs more than being healthy, being sick. So spend some money on
Yeah.
your vitamins. Make sure it's a high grade good buyer. But then women should have a women's multi, men should have a men's. They're a little bit different, a little bit more iron in the women. And then we got to go back to that B complex because we're not absorbing it really well. Our fruits are picked
Yeah.
early and our meats are, farm raised. So we need a supplement.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yep. What about something like carpal tunnel?
I love carpal tunnel syndrome. I love treating carpal tunnel syndrome.
First
Uh,
time anyone's ever said I love carpal tunnel.
When I first learned how to adjust, my mom was a secretary at a high school. She used to get up in the middle of the night and she used to swing her arms, swing in circles to get the nerves and circulation back in her hands. That's how painful her wrists were. And so
Okay.
carpal tunnel, right? Eight little carpals in your wrists, creating a tunnel with a ligament. And so what we don't want to do is we don't want to see that tunnel collapse and get so small that nobody can get through there, speaking the ulnar
Okay.
nerve and all the nerves, right? And so what do we do is we adjust the eight bones in the wrist, we stretch out the ligament, and it's so reversible that we've had doctors upset with our office before for counseling surgeries.
I was gonna say that's kind of the go-to
Yeah.
is just the surgery.
Just that diagnosis alone, I'm like, you don't got carpal tunnel syndrome. That's just a good one to place you. It's like that's just a scare tactic. A lot of times it's not true
Yeah, it's
carpal
kind of
tunnel. So when it
okay.
is true carpal tunnel, we'll even do a traction on the machine. The cervical decompression machine we have a wrist strap on
Hmm.
it, and we'll actually traction that thing out at 20 pounds, and then we'll adjust all
Oh,
the
no kidding.
carpals. You do that long enough, you're creating surgical-like results with the tunnel without cutting and causing scar tissue. Because a lot of people are going to keloid
Interesting.
internally, and they're never going to get
Yeah.
successful. They're going to have weak grip strength in the future, and they're going to get atrophy. There's no coming back from that, right? So if I can just create that surgical results without surgery, you have no scar tissue, you have no risk, and you have no internal keloid. And next thing you know, you're healthy naturally. Hey, I'm just in 30 years, right? I mean, you think if carpal tunnel was a thing, I'd have it by now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. And actually, I experienced, what would be diagnosed as carpal tunnel a number of years ago, and I was able to and it was pretty severe. Like it was kind of it was getting to a point where it was rather debilitating.
Yeah.
And this is, while I'm working an office
Well, I treat a
job.
lot of dentists, a lot of surgical nurses, a lot of surgeons. We'll treat it. They come in here for the wrist and their neck, but they're not telling everybody. Hey,
Yeah. And actually, that makes sense. I got a neighbor who's a tattoo artist, and he's had a bit of that as well.
yeah,
So that would make sense. Um,
explains your
but yeah, for
arms.
me, mine was with the desk job, and I was able to consult with an ergonomic specialist, and he
Hmm.
just kind of like moved things around and told me like a better way to sit and
Yeah.
stand, and
Yeah, if you
got me
continue
a
the
different.
trauma, right? If you continue the trauma, no matter what you do, what kind of treatment you're going to do, it's going to come back. So
Yeah,
ergonomics is a big one.
yeah. So we went full reversal, which was amazing.
You know how we tell people to put the phone on the left on their desk? You know that?
No,
To give the left hand
no,
something to do. The right arm is doing everything for everybody. So you have to stop
yeah,
using it somehow. It does too much. It 10 keys for you, mouses for you, you touch screen with it. And so you have to find a way of diversifying and giving the other hand something to do and rest this hand. So yeah, chronic injury is going to build up a problem. And if you fix the problem
yeah.
and you go back to the same habits, so there you go.
And I reckon you probably see this a lot because I know you work with a lot of families and parents. But I noticed for both myself and my wife, once we had kids, we both had a lot of problems with like our left shoulders, our left arms,
Yeah.
because we're always carrying the kid with the left because we're
Yeah.
doing things with the right. And so it's just like I'm my left upper trap is much larger, and I got like shoulder problems, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just it's very imbalanced.
That's true. And chiropractic plays a role in all of that. Mothers that are
Yeah.
nursing their necks and their their shoulders and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a great place for chiropractic to step in and ease all that because you're not going to stop holding your kid. That's for
Yep.
sure.
Yeah. So in your office there, the one thing that you have which falls outside the scope of chiropractic, but is still something that you offer is massage. So you have Dolly, she's your
Oh
masseuse.
yeah, yeah,
So how does massage and chiropractic care kind of work together, and what would you refer people to a masseuse for?
yeah. So I get about an hour of massage a month or 2.5 hours, twice a month. Your muscles hold a lot of
Hmm.
lymphatic um, a lot of blood flow, a lot of lymphatic pressure. And so you have to get that circulation. And I like it drawn from the extremities to the heart, where we're going from here down or
Okay.
legs up. And so we are
Right.
actually going into the liver with that. That's why you've probably been told by Dolly to drink a lot of water afterwards, because we're going to cleanse all those toxins out. And so your body's fighting things every day. It's eating phagocytosine, white blood cells, lymphocyte helper cells, and everything. And that all ends up in your lymphatic fluid. And so that's great to get that circulation out. But then what about
Okay.
structure, imbalance, scoliosis, stress, muscle spasms, things like that? Massage is a great tool to reduce that. Now, does it get rid of it? No, because it's neurological. It's turned on by the nervous
Yeah.
system. So if I have a pelvic tilt this way and then my muscles on the left side are tight, it's because my cerebellum's telling that. So can she ease that up? Yeah. But if you never level the pelvis, it'll always be told to do that again. So Dolly and I are kind of like a team for people and where we work
Yeah.
together in
I
helping
was going to
people.
ask, like, what kinds of things where would you pair them together, where you're like, okay, go get a massage and then come see me for your adjustment, or vice versa?
Yeah, after you've had several massages, it doesn't really matter which one you do first, but a lot of people do adjust better if they're really tight and stressed.
Okay.
Hands-on
Yeah.
healing hands-on healing goes back, it goes in the hieroglyphics. It's in the Egyptian tubes of people like pushing each other, stomping on each other, turning necks, and hands-on healing is not going to go away. It's getting more popular. Obviously, the office is getting bigger. People are not believing in
Yeah.
medicine as much. Like, hey, why do I need to take that? There must be something wrong with my body if I'm taking that. So let's go fix my body. So people are
Yeah.
waking up. They really are.
What's your opinion of the muscle scraping, where they use the metal tools to kind of scrape the
Yeah.
muscle
Yeah,
fibers?
that's great for scar tissue. That's great for connective tissue and scar tissue, especially at the tendinomuscular junction. So right where the muscle
Okay.
and the tendons come together, that junction has a lot of scar tissue in it. If there's been any blunt force trauma, the belly of the muscle, then it's going to create scar tissue, hyaline cartilage inside there. So you can't get rid of
Uh-huh.
scar tissue, but what that does, that scraping, it aligns it. So now it's in line with muscle fibers and it's not contracting abnormally anymore. So a lot of
Oh, okay.
athletes will use that for longevity because we want you to be long and strong. We don't want strong and
Yeah.
tight, right? We want long and strong. So scar
Okay.
tissue in alignment by scraping and elongating
Got it. And so it needs to be done in a very particular way to
in a
to get
particular way by
those
somebody who knows how to
those.
do it and for a particular
Yeah.
problem. It's not meant for every muscle, scar tissue.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've had it done for a few different things, and I haven't
Enjoyed it?
really observe. But well, I don't mind pain. Pain is fine. I don't really have a problem with that. It does hurt if they're doing it like they mean it.
Yeah.
But I have not had like noticeable kind of changes in how what my symptoms were
Yeah.
that I
You know
could
what
relate
works
back to
really,
that specifically.
well? Shoulders, biceps, and Achilles tendons. That's where it works really well.
Okay,
Yeah. It shows up there a lot.
biceps. Okay,
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah.
And Achilles.
Yeah. A lot of
Huh.
strains, a lot of basketball players, a lot of track athletes. We just had a kid
Yeah.
go state here that we took care of. A lot of marathon runners. So the Achilles can get thickened and they can build up scar tissue. So that scraping is a really good tool for that. Especially if you want to toe off and you
Interesting.
want the heel to strike, that calf better give
Yeah.
way, right? And so that's where that
Yeah.
scraping takes place. Because you're never going to really, you can stretch and
Um,
that can help, but you're never going to stretch yourself to a physiological point to where you've increased your range of motion. That's done to you, not from you.
and if people are getting that kind of care, would that be preventative for folks that are at risk of like their Achilles
Snapping their
tendon
Achilles tendon
popping?
from,
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
ruptures. Yeah. I was,
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, I treat pro athletes with that. I was going to say this guy's name, but yeah, no, I treat pro athletes that have had ruptured Achilles tendons before, and
Yeah.
we adjust their pelvis and get them back in shape again. It's soccer players, I do the
Yeah.
Chivas girls in Guadalajara, Mexico. A lot of them
Okay.
ankles, knees, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know folks that have had that severed tendon and whew,
Hmm.
golly,
Yeah, but yeah,
terrible.
yeah, but yeah, long and strong is the idea there.
Yeah. Okay. Another modality that I'm just curious what your like one, what does it do and what's your opinion of it is cupping.
Oh, cupping. You know, when we get cut and when we bleed, there's a reason for that. So it's not because something broke open and it's letting it out. That is the reason. What happens is blood has to rush to an area for healing. So blood has
Right.
always been a healing thing. You sprain your ankle, what happens to it? Blood rushes to the area. You get bumped or
Yep.
bruised, blood rushes to the area. All right. So blood is very healing. It has fibrils inside of it. It has nutritional properties inside of it. It has white cells, phagocytosis, neutrophils. And so what happens is if you want to have an area that's injured, chronically in pain, you want to bring healing to it faster, then we're going to draw blood to it. The cupping's a way to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. That's specifically what it's for.
That's awesome.
That's why we're
See, I
not a
never
big
knew.
believer in anti-inflammatories. If you want the
Yeah.
building to be built, you can't tell the construction workers to go away,
Yeah.
right? So that's what anti-inflammatories do. Tell the blood, no, don't go there. Don't go to your job. That's literally the body's job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Whenever one of my kids bonks his head on something or some part of his
Blood
body,
rushes to the area.
I put my palm on it and I just rub it vigorously
Uh-huh.
and they're like, they're not helping. I'm like, yes, I am. And sure enough, 30 seconds later, 40 seconds later, they're not complaining about it anymore. I'm just helping speed along getting
Yeah.
that blood over there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, so blood is healing. It brings it to the area. And again, for anybody that's like wondering about Advil and all that kind of stuff, the anti-inflammatories literally tell it to go away, not to do the job. And you end
Yeah.
up with cheap healing. You end up with really chronically re-injured places in your body that never had proper healing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
blood is great.
Yeah. Got any more stories for us? I know you
I
always
got, I
got
got a good,
stories.
I got a good vertigo one.
All right, let's hear it.
So this gentleman was aircraft landing pilot for the Navy, and he was on
Okay.
disability, right? So he hasn't worked in years, I think 12. And his spouse brought him in on a gift certificate the other day because he didn't want to come in on his own. So she bought him a gift certificate. And she said,
Okay.
just go in there and see if he can help with your vertigo. So he had severe vertigo.
He's a
He's
pilot with vertigo.
pilot with vertigo and a pilot because of vertigo. Because here's what we said. All we're going to do is check to see if your C2 is misaligned. Out of the 7 C's, cervicals in your neck, we're just looking for one thing. So I had him open his mouth. They
Yep.
took an x-ray. C2 is turned, but it was turned to his left and he had a right pelvic tilt. So I was like, why is your C2 turned to the left? How'd you get misaligned like that? And it was severe, Drew.
Uh-huh.
It looked like he was
Okay.
a tummy sleeper that turned his head. I'm like, are you a tummy sleeper? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, what happened to you? He's like, all right, I'll tell you what happened. The guy didn't want to admit it. He's like, all right, I guess I need what you're doing here. Every time I landed, I looked at the tower for my landing position, and every time I hit, that's probably what happened. So that's
Oh,
how he got
so
vertigo.
he always had his head turned when he touched down.
C2. If you look to the right, C2 is left. If you look left, C2 is
Okay.
right. So that's how he got. So chronic misalignments. I think the gentleman was here for 2 months. and his vertigo is gone after the first month, but he stayed for the second month, and he's back. He's
Yeah.
working. He's able to work. He's not throwing up. He's on medication. He actually canceled all his
After
medication
12 years.
after 12 years of having it. 1 month of care, he stopped the medication to see if it was going to hold. Second month it held. He hasn't been back since, but he's still well and he's working.
Wow.
Yeah, he's happy. So
Oh, man.
vertigo, inner ear disturbance through the nervous system in your vestibular nerve. It's a cranial nerve number 8. And so, chiropractic, if anybody's out there and thinking like, what can chiropractic do besides 90% reduction in migraine headaches, inner ear disturbances, including vertigo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super
Actually, I wanted to ask you about migraines too, now that you mention it, because I don't think we got that one on our last chat.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's one that's common. I know a lot of people, and I don't know, how many of these folks that say they get migraines actually have it like diagnosed as a proper migraine. But if someone has an actual
Sure.
migraine headache, like what do you do for that?
So being close to Disneyland, I adjust a lot of the characters there. And a lot of the
Oh,
characters, unfortunately,
no kidding.
um,
I know I've met Mulan
Mulan.
several times.
This is actually Mulan's thing. Is migraines, right? So they have a lot of head trauma there. They're actually accidentally pulled or maybe unpurposefully pulled by hair and by children and by guests and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Pluto had migraines. Pluto's like severe migraines. But what in chiropractic, 10% of all headaches are nutrition, okay? 10% are allergies. 10% are allergies. 10% are allergies. And so what are we looking at? 90% are neurological, muscular, vascular. So I have a spine here. Look at this. If we're talking about neurovascular headaches, this foramen magnum is where your brainstem goes through. The spinal
Okay.
cord doesn't start till after the second bone of the neck. So when you have a second bone of the C2 misalignment, you don't have pressure on a nerve, you have a pressure on your brainstem. This is why cranial nerve
Oh,
8 is involved. And then you have this blood vessel called the circle of Willis, which is vertebral artery, and it actually has to come up through C2, and then it makes a U-turn around the atlas and goes into the skull to give your brain blood and oxygen. And so
okay.
these two have to be right. So if 90% of all headaches are muscular, neurological, vascular, can I fix that with adjustments? We have a 90% cure rate for migraines here. That's huge.
Amazing.
No medicine can say
Yeah.
that. No drug can say that.
Yeah.
I literally can
No.
I can stand on that, and I will. So I'm really excited
So
about that.
so curious, can you treat someone that's like in the throes of a migraine, or is it more preventative?
In the middle of a migraine, people will come in, they'll be helped in the office, they'll lay down, they get an adjustment. When the adjustment finally goes, it's hard to adjust in the middle of a migraine. So we'll make sure we get a good
Yeah.
atlas adjustment. Usually takes maybe 2 or 3 times actually to get it to go. Within 20 minutes, the
Okay.
headache's already going down
Wow.
within 20 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So all you chronic migraine sufferers out there, go find a
Oh,
chiropractor
go
that can
find a
handle this.
chiropractor. Just ask them about their adjustments. Ask them if they can help with migraines. A good chiropractor will help you with migraines.
Yeah,
It's life changing.
again, I'm not one that experiences migraines, but I know people that are, and
Me
it's
neither, but it's
it's
sad.
pretty
It's sad.
incredible how debilitating it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. I love helping people with that. Never had one, but I love helping
Yeah.
people with it.
Yeah.
So vertigo,
What are some other
migraines.
things that are
So ocular
yeah, what
migraines,
are
I
some
would
other just kind of
say,
common things?
I would say ocular migraines, just to point that out, that is a little bit different than a regular migraine. It
Okay.
typically goes behind one eye, and they'll even feel like they have to push their
Oh,
eye in because as the intracranial
okay.
pressure builds up, the eyes actually is being pushed out a little bit. So they'll actually have to push in. But you
Oh,
get
no
blurred
kidding.
vision, ocular migraines, similar
That's
similar adjustment as a regular migraine, but C2 is a little bit more involved with the atlas. So C1 atlas vertebrae, and we call it the atlas because it holds, the guy that holds the world up, Atlas.
yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that picture of that guy with the world on his
Yeah.
shoulders? His name is Atlas.
That's my first boy's middle name,
Oh, that's
Atlas.
just, wow, I love that. So we call C1 Atlas because it holds a skull. So Atlas axis have to be in place for that. And if you can do that, you got ocular migraines, inner ear disturbance, vertigo, some forms of deafness, and regular migraines will go away.
Okay.
I thought we call it
Yeah, incredible.
back to
Yeah.
life chiropractic.
Yeah. It,
Get it?
and it's a pun. I love a good pun. What else? What else are common things that people experience where it's just like I'm just gonna live with this because it's something that happens to me
So here,
that you
okay,
can
so I
help
would say
with?
there's 2 things that are a hidden gem inside chiropractic, and one of them is going to be anxiety. I'm talking about chest pain,
Okay, so not just
Actual,
stress, but like
no,
the real
like
deal.
real anxiety. You're in the middle of it. You can
Okay.
barely breathe. Your heart's pounding. Your chest hurts. Anxiety.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
great with that. Just got an 18-year-old girl off Prozac the other day. So how does
Wow.
that happen, right? A little bit like the asthma thing. So the body, and it reminds me just a little bit of vertigo too, because it's a receptor organ. Our ears, our heart, our lungs, our receptor organs. So we have afferent nerves going from those areas, getting feedback from the brain. But the heart being a muscle, right? Cardiac muscle, not like a skeletal muscle or
Hmm.
smooth muscle on the bronchial tube, being a cardiac muscle is connected to the autonomic nervous system. So why is it to the autonomic nervous system? I don't know, ask God. But I think it's because you don't want to have to think about beating your heart all day, right?
Yeah.
It's separated from
that,
you,
that
separated
would
from
that
your,
would be rather
I would
distracting.
have died in my sleep. I just forgot to do that.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking about it, like I'm thinking about this right now, you don't have to think about it. It's autonomic. So it's on the automatic nervous system side. However, if you can't override it, you're like, ever try to stop your heart? Like, stop. Like, it doesn't work. You can't override that system.
Yeah.
So if there is
Right.
a misalignment between your shoulder blades at thoracic number two, T2, thoracic two, you're going to have dysarrhythmias. You're going to have tachycardia. And you can have atrial fibrillation or tachycardia in your ventricles. And if you have that and it's associated with tight sternum pain and bronchial tube constriction, you're going to have a combination. It's going to be anxiety. They're going to label it
Huh.
anxiety. You're going to get anxiety medication. And this won't go away because it's not pill related. You don't have anxiety because you lack medication in your life. Like
Yeah.
anxiety because it's nervous system related. So we fix the structure, we fix the nervous system input to the cardiac muscles, and of course the bronchial tube. And next thing you know, the heart's at rest. It's no longer sympathetic output, like fight or flight.
Yep.
I actually had this debate with a cardiologist one time, and he didn't want to act like the heart was related to the brain. But if you close your eyes and a lion jumps in front of you, nothing happens until you open your eyes and you see that lion. And then your brain tells your heart what get ready to do, which is to run, right? So it beats it. It gets it beating
Yeah.
fast. So your fight or flight, your adrenaline, everything is related from brain to body, unrelated to whether you want it to be there or not. So we can help a lot with anxiety.
That's
It's
amazing.
and then the other last thing I think I want to talk to people about would be fatigue associated with depression. Fatigue associated with
Okay.
depression. So if you have a postural deviation on the lateral cervical spine, and if you have a loss of cervical curve in a significant way, you're going to have chronic fatigue. Where does that chronic fatigue come from? So the cerebellum is going to help you every day, help you hold your head up when it literally should just
Yeah.
fall based on structure that we see on film. Like, hey, how come your head doesn't fall? Let me feel your traps. You got lactic acid, tight traps, women that feel like they're doing shrugs, but they're not. They're just so stressed out.
Yeah.
And so the fatigue is associated because after a while, it makes everything really blue. So you talk to people that are sad, mildly depressed, and they feel very blue. It's not because everything in their life sucks. They got great lives, but it's tied to the fatigue. So it starts with
Huh.
the fatigue, and the fatigue will lead towards a very blue feeling. You actually lack expression of joy after a while. So that's a big one.
Wow.
That's a big one in the practice that we do here.
Huh.
Yeah, weird.
And a lot of what I help people with through my wellness coaching is stress and anxiety as well. But I might have to write getting chiropractic care into
Yeah.
my protocol.
Well, if you look at some of the college studies on stress exercise is more 2 times more powerful than antidepressant.
Yeah,
That was actually a Duke study.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
So
just moving.
go get some sunshine, get
Yeah,
yourself properly hydrated, and get adjusted.
eat well, move well, think well. I love it.
Yeah, amazing. Well, gosh, I kind of went down my list. Anything else that you want to put out there for the listeners before we wrap it up?
I would say get your kids adjusted at an early age. Um,
Yeah,
Go in and ask a pediatric chiropractor. ICPA, International Chiropractic Pediatric Association, is all over the world, right? I'm a global member. So you'll find a chiropractor in your area that's an ICPA member, and they can help a lot with the things that you would go to your pediatrician for. A lot of the things that you've received prescriptions for. How many more times do you want amoxicillin, right? Like really, really, that's all you got, bro? How many more prescriptions of those do you want? So people that are wondering, how can I get my kids healthy? How can I teach my kids an inside out lifestyle, not just outside in, right? Not just outside in,
yeah,
because that's what they're selling us. They're selling us that there's a pill for every ill. No, you're wonderfully made. That's not necessarily true. Your body can do everything. It can heal itself. So the chiropractic lifestyle, the chiropractic philosophy says that you're wonderfully made. You heal from the inside out, not from the outside in. So how do we teach that philosophy to our kids that later in life, if they learn the outside in philosophy, the first time distress, the first time something goes wrong, like, oh, I know. That's what mom and dad said, right? I'll just take something, drink something, smoke something. That's what I do, right? Inject something, right? That's what I do. That's what you've taught me, mom and dad.
Yeah.
So that's the philosophy of that. Where a chiropractic lifestyle
Yeah.
says you heal from the inside out. So teach those kids early that, we have a philosophy about money. We have a philosophy about religion. We have a philosophy about lifestyle. What about a philosophy of healthcare? Right. So that's the philosophy that we derive out of chiropractic, is that you heal from the inside out. And you really do, as you've seen in the office here. So if I wasn't saying anything, get your kids started on chiropractic, whether if it's even just an adjustment once a month. They'll be healthier, they'll be happier, and they'll lack some of those chronic diseases. The next thing you know, you throw in some nutrition, some exercises like you do, Drew, and then people are really off run into a great life. And we only get once.
And I'll say to all the parents out there that are skeptical of not the efficacy of chiropractic for their kids, but of their kids' willingness to accept chiropractic care. I have two kids. My eldest, who was 5 when we took him in for his first adjustment, I think. He's very strong-willed, and when he doesn't want to do things, it is very hard to get him to do things. But we brought him with us when we got adjusted a few times. And
didn't I lay him on top of you one time for an adjustment? Did he lay on you?
Maybe not me. Maybe my wife.
Okay.
Maybe my wife.
Oh yeah, that's because that helped. That baby contact helps.
Yeah. But so with him, like we got to a point where we're just like, all right, it's your turn. And he just said, okay. And he did it and it was fine. And next time we asked him if he would go get adjusted, he said yes. And then the little one, he wasn't into it at first. He cried. Like he was cooperative, but he cried. But now, fast forward 6 months of bringing him in every few weeks, every month, every couple months. Now, anytime we go, he's like, all right, let's go, and he's only 2.5. So he's little, but he's like, let's go. We get in there and, he once he sees you, he climbs up onto the table. He puts his face in the thing and he's ready to
first
go.
now. He's like first when it's time to go.
Yeah.
He's funny.
Yeah. So for the parents out there that are skeptical of your kids' willingness to accept chiropractic care, just try, bring them in, let them see what it's like, tell them how you feel when you're done. It can be like going to any doctor. It's, if it's something new in a different place, then maybe it's a little scary, but get them familiar and give it a try. It's
familiar with the environment.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And it works great. Yeah. You'll have healthy kids.
And if it's an office like yours, then, and they're, like you say, pediatric chiropractor, then they're doing things to make it comfortable, right? I mean, you got a lot of stuff in there that makes it fun for kids to be there.
Yeah. 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 I want to welcome that for sure.
Yep. Cool. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to close things out. But as always, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Here for the community and for everyone, for my family. I will link to your office in the show notes, which is Back to Life Chiropractic here in Santa Ana, California. Show notes will be at the Superhuman Blueprint podcast.com. Dr. Brian, thanks for the chat.
That was great. Good to talk to you, Drew.
Right.
Thank you.